Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Towers Podcast. Here today, I'm here with Macauly. How you doing, my friend?
Hello. Yeah, it's great.
Doing great. It's new DWM day, but not for you, I suppose.
No, I've still got the issue. So
I've never owned an issue. There you go. That's fun fact. I've never had an issue of DWM in my life. So
wow, shocking fact.
I know. But yes, obviously we're going to be getting into that. But also, this podcast is set around the Eternals. It's one of those films that we didn't get around to reviewing at the time of release. I don't know, because it was around the time where all of the 2020 backlog was coming out and just everything was coming out every other week. So Eternals was just one that kind of got swept under the rug. But now we're doing it. But yeah, first of all, I want to apologize for no podcast in the past few weeks. I've been taking some time for myself and just kind of getting things ready. Heading back to university in a few days when recording this. So yeah, it's been a bit of a hectic couple of weeks, seeing people and getting everything ready. And the one thing you don't want to be doing is recording podcasts and all that, especially when I've got two things that we have recorded which are being currently edited, and they're pretty cool as well, so they'll be going up on the channel soon. Apart from that, before we get into the Eternal stuff, Macauly, some actual Doctor Who news for the centenary, which is nice.
What a day. So we obviously, Doctor Who magazine officially gets released tomorrow as of the recording of this. Today is Wednesday the 14th. So yeah, so they've announced the title of the centenary after months and months of people whinging about it. We've got some new promo shots, maybe some look into a bit of the story. I haven't got the magazine in front of me to sort of go into detail with it essentially, but there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. So should we announce what it is on the podcast? Or?
Yeah, I feel like we can, because it's going to come out. It's going to, for those of you that don't know, obviously, normally podcasts come out on Monday, but obviously due to the sad passing of Queen Elizabeth, it's not going to be out on Monday. It's going to be coming out tomorrow. So the magazine's now out. If you don't want to be spoiled, skip like 3 minutes. I'll put a time code on the screen.
The Eternals is not going to be that high, let's be honest. Not many people.
Exactly. It's all going to be, it's going to be the clip of this more when I take it out of the podcast. But yeah, so it's the power of the Doctor, which Twitter don't like for some reason, but then they were never going to like it, even if it was a ludicrous stuff. I really like it. We've had the power of the Daleks. We've had the power of XYZ. What's wrong with the power of the Doctor? I think it's fine.
I mean, Chibnall's already done the power of 3. So
yeah,
what's the difference?
What is the difference? I think it's fine. It tells us, maybe it's because it tells us virtually nothing, which a title should never do anyway. I think a title should always intrigue you and not tell you something, which is, and hopefully the intrigue is interesting. Like the one intriguing title, which then the episode was absolute turd, was the Battle of Randscribe Kolos. You're like, oh, what could this battle be? Who is it between? What is Randscribe Kolos? And it was not great. Coming last in our Doctor Who poll of polls as well. So it's literally the worst episode of Doctor Who of all time officially.
I've watched that story for about 4 or 5 times. I still couldn't tell you what the plot is. And I only learned the story name this year. So
yeah, exactly. But obviously, I'm a fan of the Chibnall way of doing things to a certain degree. I think where it comes to not knowing stuff, I think where it hurts me, and you'll know a lot about this as well, is I'm not a figure collector, but I think Doctor Who and the brand should be everywhere. I think you should have tons of waves of figures and posters and things like that. And obviously with him doing it the way he's doing it, that can happen, and that affects the branding. I think brands should always come first over spoilers, personally.
You need to put brands, I think you need to put brands everywhere, because it's all part of the marketing, isn't it? Like, originally when it started, you'd have toys and then you'd create the TV shows to sell the toys. Now it's very much the other way around, where you create the toys for the shows and the films. So it's one of those things. Back in the heyday, 2006, we used to get waves and waves and waves of very obscure characters. Looking at my shelves this way, I can see like a space pig, or I can see Novice Hane. Characters you wouldn't get nowadays.
I mean, have we even got a Kablam man or like an actual figure or anything like that at all? No,
not officially, but I've got one that I made.
Let's have a look.
So there's a group on Facebook that does like custom sort of 3D sculpted
That's
heads.
sick. That's sick.
Yeah, yeah. So I bought the hands and the head. They're 3D painted. They're designed by well, I can't remember the guy that designs them, but the guy that sort of prints them, his name is Nathan Ward.
Yeah.
He's got Instagram, Twitter, and all that jazz. And he sells like 3D printed heads and stuff. So you can buy them and then sort of customize and paint your own sort of stuff. So he's doing the God's work, that character or not.
Yeah, but I don't know how much you can blame character. Really, like,
Yeah.
is it character? Is it Chibnall? Is it a mix of both? I don't know. I just think I've been round to to the wonderful Gallifrey 97's house, and you go in his bedroom, and it's just in order of new series, and you just see so much for like series 1 to 4, even including 5, maybe a bit of 6, and then as you get to series 7 and the Capaldi eras, it just slowly starts to die, and then by series 11, there's nothing. There's alternate versions of Jodie. You get the companions, maybe a Dalek or two, and it's kind of sad to see, because you really think that, I hope that in the aftermath, maybe the B&M sets can use some more Jodie stuff, because they're also really cool designs in the Jodie era, like the Kablam Man. I think the Skithra would be a really cool sort of figure, and things like that. So there are a lot. I mean, do we even have a Dewan figure? Like,
Nope.
it's like, what the hell? It baffles.
We had for Chibnall era merchandise, I'd say, was probably Eagle Moss, but unfortunately they are currently going through liquidation. So
yes,
the last one I got
that's a shame.
was the Sontaran from the Flux series. I think that was the last one I got.
Yeah, it's just a shame, and I think, like, I wasn't there even. I think it was it FX magazine had like a piece on them, and they said Doctor Who, and in like small writing it said no, really, this time, because of how pissed off they are that they don't get given stuff. Which just, I think it reflects poorly on the brand as a whole.
But we do know that they've hired a new branding manager in the last couple of weeks. So
yeah, fingers
maybe
crossed.
The previous one. So hopefully this person can pick up and rebirth the brand, essentially.
Yeah, I think the worst part about this era is not knowing the show is on. Like, we know where it's on because we actively look for it, but there are people that you can go to these days and go, "Oh, watch Doctor Who." And I said, "Oh, Doctor Who was on." Like, choosing not to watch it is one thing, but not knowing it was on entirely is another thing, and that just shows lack of advertising. And
100%.
You wouldn't get away with that with like Line of Duty, or like, everyone knows Line of Duty, so everyone's excited for that mystery. You wouldn't, or Netflix, like Cobra Kai came out, everyone knew Cobra Kai was out because Netflix shoved it in your face whenever you weren't watching something. I think we need to get back to that, and I think we can, hopefully with Tennant and Tate coming back and potentially others. It bring that excitement back to the casual viewers, and hopefully with the quality of writing and just the advertising when Shooty comes along, that will stick and people will come back to it. I don't think it'll ever get as big as 13 million viewers. You just don't get that these days. I think a nice 5 to 6 million would do it. And I think people saying viewing figures doesn't matter. I think it does in the casual viewer context. I don't think the show's ever going to get cancelled, but I think in terms of
like, a lot of people focus on the figures of like, it's only done this much, but when you compare it to normal TV viewings, it's always in the top 10 of the week.
Yep.
So as long as it's in the top 10, if you think about all the channels, all the shows that are on all the time, it's always in the top 10. So it's not going, as long as it's in that top 10, it's definitely not going to go anywhere.
Exactly. And you look at other shows that, the ones that beat it, it's possibly, I think even when you put it into like a drama context, it's normally in the top 1 or 2.
100%.
Because
when you take out soaps, the soaps are given because they're weekly, they're people's routine, they've been watching. So it's
Strictly,
like watching on Channel 4. It's always there, same time every week without fail. People get in that routine, they watch it. Take that out, it's always in the top 1 or 2.
Yeah, and the only time it's never not in the top 10 is if there's a thing like I'm a Celebrity, which obviously is on for 3 weeks every night on ITV, which is just going to trounce it because there's 7 of them a week. It's highly unlikely. But I think
this year,
I still think Doctor Who is in a healthy place. I like it. Makes me laugh when certain people go, Doctor Who's dying. I don't think it's dying at all. I mean, but I just think that it could do with a boost in terms of the extra stuff that isn't the television and make it more of a household name again. I think the
Yeah.
video games were a great step. I haven't played either of them, but I've not heard that they were terrible, which is a big step up for Doctor Who games because they used to be dog shit. So
In one of the Doctor Who magazines, there's a whole article story on Doctor Who games. It's quite fascinating, from like the original ones where it's like little dots and jumping men to what it is now, essentially like a 3D role playing game. So definitely, I'd say the best one they've ever produced, and so was the Lego Dimensions crossover. That's probably the best one they've done.
yeah, because obviously I had Capaldi and I think Jenna as well. They both did bits, didn't they?
Yeah, they did voiceovers for it. And then second to that, I'd say it's probably the adventure games.
Oh, those were great. Those are great.
Yeah.
I love those.
Downloaded them on my computer in 2010.
I can't. They're not around anymore. Really, I think they should. It's a shame.
Well, I've still got my PC, but my PC has probably died to death. So
yeah, they probably wouldn't be able to run them. But what do you make of the new ones? Is it Maze Theory? Have you played either of those? Or they made 3 now, haven't they? I think is it 3? They made the VR one.
So I pre-ordered the mobile game, the Angel one they did.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered that. I still have not opened and played it. And when did that come out? 2 years ago.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, I've still not opened it. I paid for it and everything. And then the Switch ones, I'm probably going to get. I put them on my Amazon wish list, so cool. You can link the Amazon. You can link that down below in the YouTube.
Yeah, Macauly's wish list. Please buy him.
Yeah, it's full of the games. It's full of Doctor Who books and the Switch games. So buy me Doctor Who shit. Thanks.
Yeah, please. Well, before we also get into the Eternals, well, speaking of Doctor Who shit, this is a fun one for listeners. So since the last podcast we did, I think I didn't say this in the last one. I might have done, so apologies. I've now paid to go meet Matt Smith. So there we go. That'll be a fun day. That'll be a nice day out. I'm looking forward to it. I'm lucky that I have this mindset where I don't get nervous when I meet people. I'm quite all right. I don't get like shaky or worried, or I'm quite I'm quite talkative. So even if I'm in front of someone like a celebrity, I'm normally all right.
So
yeah, because I mean, you've met Matt. You've had a photo with him, haven't you? I think I've...
Yeah, and meeting Matt was one of my favorite sort of meetings. I think like his energy is so high all the time, and he's so friendly. He jumps about. He's like a Labrador. The same with David Tennant, because I met them both on the same time. It was that year when Showmasters had pretty much all the doctors there, minus Jodie, who was I think recently announced. And
did Sylve miss that one?
And Sylvester was already doing a convention up north, so I could imagine in the Doctor Who WhatsApp group, they're all like, flinging their checks in, and Sylvester's just there, like, being depressed up in like Edinburgh, wherever he was.
Nobody wants to be in Edinburgh. No, sorry, anyone that if you are listening in Edinburgh, I'm sure it's lovely. Yeah, I'm gutted that Tennant and Smith on different days, because what I was going to do is I couldn't afford to meet both of them, but I was gonna, if they were doing a double photo, I was going to get that day and do it like that. But it's a shame they're not.
They might even announce that they're doing 2 days of one of them, so they tend to do that.
That would be pain.
That would be pain. But I'm glad that you went for the Matt Smith one, because I think you'll have the best time. He's such a nice guy, and he's done so much since. So you've got the classic Morbin Time memes, which you can mention, and the new House of Dragons. Have you been watching that?
I don't like Game of Thrones, mate, so I've not watched it.
Okay, yeah, House of Dragons is weird because episode 1, obviously Matt Smith is playing Daemon Targaryen. So you see him in the whorehouse, all revealed, just fucking away at a whore. That's quoted Game of calling women whores.
Hashtag not my doctor.
Yeah, and then in the latest episode, he shags his niece in the whorehouse. So yeah, but episode 3 was great because he literally didn't say a single word in that whole episode, yet he was the best thing about the episode. This whole battle scene and everything, it was so good. It's
not for me, mate. I know it's brilliant television. I've watched the first episode of Game of Thrones. I just found it too much for me. But
maybe give us a and see what you think, just so you can see Matt in it.
Potentially, maybe, just so I can see every single bit of Matt Smith. But yeah, speaking of the Morbid Time thing, have you seen that clip from CoverCon where some bloke goes up on the Q&A and just says to Matt, "It's Morbid Time," and he has no idea what he's talking about. He's like, "What are you on about?" It's one of the funniest things I've seen.
I hope he's learned it by the time he comes to LFCC. Because
Oh, please. Oh, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Just seeing him do a little.
Yeah, as long as he's
I
learned
reckon.
it, he's got it.
I,
Surely, he mentioned it to him. He's not known. He's obviously asked about it afterwards, and someone's explained. And curiosity would get him to Google it. Surely.
I'd love a dance off between him and Tobey Maguire, where they're just doing their own. I know someone's made but we need it in real life, mate. We need it in real life. That's what I'm saying. But no, that'd be fun. It'd be a fun day. Obviously, as well, BFI's announced she won't be at. I'm really sad. I haven't seen you in ages. I might see you in October beforehand, but haven't seen you in eight. What's it been? Was it March? Has it been that long? March?
The last one I went to
was the Cushing?
Probably the Cushing movies was the last one I went to.
Because that was me. That was March. Yeah. No, it was June. Was it June? June. Maybe June.
Yeah, it was June. Yeah.
June. God, June. It feels like longer, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's June.
That's a good time.
You weren't at LFCC either, but we did see your son and send you a cheeky photo.
Yeah, that's good.
So, you know, fun times ahead. But yeah, right. Shall we get into reviewing the 2020 movie Eternals?
Yes, there's a lot to go through.
This film is long.
There's 11, 12 main characters in this film.
Yes.
As an so yeah, it's gonna
I'll give a quick plot breakdown as quick as I can, because obviously a lot of you would have seen it. Of course, this is the film that introduces all of the Eternals. I'm not going to name them all because I really can't remember them. If I go back to back, I'll get to them.
I could go for it if you want. I know what them all.
Essentially, it's about the Eternals. It's their origin story, and also they learn some stuff about themselves and their purpose. And it's kind of, out of sync a little bit. We go from the present day to the past, back to, it's all about sync, and it's all about romance, and the world's going to blow up, and Harry Styles pops in for 2 minutes at the end. It all kicks off. But obviously this film as well. The reason Macauly is here is because he actually quite enjoys this film. And a lot of people don't. So when I was telling people like, "Do you want to do Eternals?" They're like, "No, I don't want it." So Macauly was like, "I'll do it." So he's here. I didn't enjoy it the first time around. I have rewatched it on Disney Plus. I would say this is the most annoying film to watch on Disney Plus, because with the IMAX enhanced, it's like 50-50. And it's really annoying. Unlike some of them, which is a few sections, which is IMAX, and it's fine. This one is IMAX. In the same scene, it'll cut back to non-IMAX it's so frustrating. So I'd watch this for those on Disney Plus. If you are going to rewatch this film, watch it without the IMAX filter on, because I had to turn it off because it just kept switching depending on what camera shot was used in the same scene. It was just annoying as fuck. But yeah, Eternals. It's weird that an MCU film gets a meh reaction, because normally people either go, "It was all right," or people go, "Oh, it's great." Like Thor: Love and Thunder, I think, is one of those weird ones as well, where people either really, really liked it or seem to really dislike it. I was on the positive side of that one. I found it a lot of fun. But
yeah, I enjoyed it. I've only watched it once, but it's now on Disney Plus, so I'm going to go and rewatch it, I think, just to get a proper... Now I know what I've expected. And same with Spider-Man No Way Home. I went to rewatch that the other day and watched the really fun edition.
Is it a lot more fun? Because I've seen the clips. I don't think it really does much.
Oh yeah, definitely. It definitely adds to it. I think it's worth going again, especially watching it in cinema. I think it adds to the... If you can go and watch a film that you like in the cinema, do it, because it won't be in there forever.
Do it. So Macauly, what do you like about Eternals then? Take us through what you like about it.
So I think it's quite a fun film in terms of you meet all these characters. They're all very different characters as well, and they sort of go their separate ways. And it's just sort of like how superheroes would gel into the real life situation. We don't really see that because they're not front heroes like the Avengers. These are sort of like backseat sort of secret heroes, I'd say. So it's quite interesting seeing them intertwined into our universe without being the forefront and in the limelight until sort of like towards the end of the film, when they sort of come out and sort of help against Crow and the Deviants. So I just like the variety of it, essentially.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I think that's the thing the MCU is good at is the variety. I'll speak. So I watched this. I watched Eternals. My one biggest complaint is it's too long.
Is it
It's two.
long?
It's
But
two
I
hours.
would it's also not long enough.
I would agree. I think it's going to do too much in this short runtime, which sort of makes it boring. Because the issue is, and this is what I said when I watched it the first time. This is my biggest complaint. I said they should have done a Disney Plus series of sorts, where they in one episode each devoted to each Eternal, you introduce them and their power sets. Because the issue is here, they're trying to introduce the characters and make you care about them when they're back together, and you just don't have enough time to care about all of them. And it just kind of,
yeah, as you said, like Disney Plus series would be great. You get at least 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how long you want those episodes. What's She-Hulk? That's about what, 35, 40?
Yeah, 35 minutes, but I think it's 9 parts She-Hulk this time around. I don't think it's a 6,
Yeah.
it's 9. So yeah, I just think the issue, like they tried to do an Avengers style film, like not in terms of scale, but in terms of how they did in the first one, in about 150 minutes with all new characters. The one thing the Avengers did well is you already cared about most of those characters coming together.
Yeah,
in this, you're trying to learn about them and care. And the issue is that a lot of them just get shortchanged. There are some cool characters in here. I mean, I'm gonna like Kumail Nanjiani in anything he's in because he's funny. Same with Brian Tyree Henry. I think they're really good. But there are people in here that just they die, and you don't like. Salma Hayek may as well not have been in the film because she doesn't serve a purpose, really.
So you've got the first to die, Ajak.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's basically just sort of like the mother figure, essentially. So her death just sort of is essentially the start of the film, really, isn't it? It's what sets them off on that sort of connecting back together again. I'm trying to think, who's the first one to die after that? Is it Gilgamesh?
Gilgamesh, yeah.
Yeah, who I'm not. I mean, he's all right.
He's all right.
Yeah. I've forgotten who else dies.
I think it's just those two, isn't it? I think I've watched it.
Then Icarus dies son.
Yeah.
And
that's it. And Sprite leaves.
And Sprite goes to school.
Yeah. I like you say, the issue is that you think about these characters and you think, like the good thing is about this is that it's got a strong cast that you can like because you like the actors behind them, and I think that's the strong point. The issue is
quite a diverse cast as well, I think.
Yeah, I love that. I love Macauly. It's good set representation. The issue is with the character is she has an arc with Druig, but it's kind of done before you see any of it. They're just sort of together off screen, and you're like, well, I like both of them. Druig's my favorite of the Eternals, to be honest. I think it's the most complex and interesting. But all of the development happens off screen because they just don't have time, and they're too busy doing the will they won't they between Icarus and Cersei, which I don't give a shit about.
And then out of nowhere, it's Sprite kind of fancy them.
Oh yeah, and I think that's undercooked as well, because we just skip around because it's an old film. We don't need to tiptoe around it. Like the issue for is the third act. There's so many issues. Like Sprite betrays them and then gets rewarded by the end of the film, which I think is dumb. That's a stupid thing. Kingo just pisses off. He's like, nah, I don't want any part of this. And you think that's him building up for a return. No, he just leaves. And then the end of the film is like, well done, guys. We did the right thing. It's like, you weren't even there, mate. You left. You didn't even bother. So that's really annoying. What's it? Kit Harington's in it just to set up another project. And it's so blatant this time that it's kind of even more frustrating when you get it other times, because he doesn't affect this plot at all. At all. He doesn't need to be there. Like, you could have just put him in any random post-credit scene, or just introduce him in Blade, which is where I think we're going to see him again, obviously. Yeah, I think there's too many cooks in the kitchen, mate, in this one. I think that's the best way of putting it. I just think there's too many new characters, and I find myself liking the actors more than I do the characters. Like, I'm not excited to see them again. If they pop up, I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah, but I mean, that's probably it. Like, I think the best thing about the film is probably the characters in the film, which is obviously enhanced by the actors as well. But um, I just want more of it because I like each individual character. I like their powers. I like their backstories. It's just I just need more detail, just to develop it even more. But because half of them out of the picture now, I think when they return, because they're going to return, they're not going to just sort of cut it off there.
Yeah.
We're going to know more about them. We're probably going to care more about them, and because there's less, there's more
Yeah.
chance to adapt those characters. Because left on the ship when they fly off is Macauly, Druig,
And
Thena,
Angelina Jolie, and that's it. And then Harry Styles pops up.
and then Harry Styles' his little friend, who looks
Because
like he's Power Rangers. And
because I
Thirsty,
think
doesn't she?
Cersei and Kingo, and I think Sprite as well, potentially, maybe not. Maybe it's what I know. There's three. No, so it's Sprite. No, so it's Cersei, Kingo, and Fastos that get taken. Arashem's like, I'm gonna get revenge on you for not doing what I wanted you to do, and the others are in the ship. So they're all on Earth, and they get taken by Arashem, and the others are in the ship. So it's kind of they're currently split 3-3. There's three of them kind of in
Yeah.
nowhere, and three of them on the ship. Yeah, I think there is some positives to this film. I think the reveal of the Celestials being evil was really cool. I didn't see that coming. I thought that was a really cool twist that actually, okay, they're all kind of taken away. I like the mind weary stuff. I think obviously we all know how good Angelina Jolie is as an actor, and she does a great job actually. I think when she was cast, there was some pessimism going, is she going to take it seriously? You know, obviously quite a highbrow actor, but she does a phenomenal job here. But I think the issue is there's one twist which is really good, and there's one twist which is so obvious it's unbelievable, which is the whole Icarus killing Ajax thing. I think we all saw that coming. I don't think it was much of a surprise. Did you not? I felt the turn was going to be there. I don't know. Maybe even when I first watched it, I was like, yeah, he did it, and then I think him working with the Deviants and knowing Deviants were alive is a cool twist.
Yeah, 100%.
I just thought that in the early scripts, he's kind of written so that when you rewatch it, you go, oh, okay, it was very obvious. But the issue is you can still, I mean, I just, I know what Richard Madden's, I mean, we've seen Richard Madden be good and we've seen him be a dickhead and stuff. I know what kind of actor he is. I was like, yeah, he's being a bit kind of cocky and a bit whatever. And I could tell that he wanted to be the leader, and they sort of slowly build that up. But I think it just becomes obvious, sort of like sooner rather than later, that he is the one that kind of set up her death, I think.
Yeah.
I just think Ajax as a character, it's not the best. Like, it's not something like a Heimdall dying in Infinity War where you go, okay, that puts the plot in motion, but we feel something. It's just kind of like, oh, all right.
That's what we've known. Like,
yeah. We've known for all about 3 minutes of screen time, and they're crying about for a good 10 minutes, and we have to sit there and go, like, I think it just gets off to a rocky start. It gets good again in the middle. Like, there's the fight sequence in the forest is really good, and the sort of the conflict between each Eternal of whether they're going to come back or whether they're not is quite good. I like that, but I just think it's trying to do too much too quickly.
Yeah,
it baffles me. I think the Deviants have a cool design, which is nice. I think they look pretty cool and pretty distinct. I don't know what the main Deviant's called, which kind of turns into like
his name is Crow.
Crow.
Crow, yeah, K-R-O.
Crow. I like the issue with he doesn't need to be in the movie, because towards the end he just turns up again mid-fight and goes, no, you have to fight me for 2 minutes. And it's like, okay. Like, I think Crow could have been an interesting character that he create in this film and comes back later on in a new film or something. I just feel like the two plots don't really coincide well with each other. Again, it's just too much in such a short runtime, if you get what I'm saying. I think it just ends up becoming boring because there's so much to kind of take in so quickly that you kind of go, oh, I don't really watch Marvel for having to pay attention all the time. I watch it for a bit of fun and just kind of relax a little bit. And I just think this one is continuously just throwing information at your face that you have to keep watching. But I suppose some people like yourself, that works. I just find it like whenever they keep cutting back to a new battle and it's like, right, now it's time for some exposition about their powers or this new ability that they have so that could come into use later. It just seems a bit for me. But what are the positives you have apart from the characters? What else do you love about the film?
I think there's a bit of comedy in there, mostly from sort of like Kingo and his little mate, which are quite good. They break it up quite nice.
Yeah.
All the cameras and stuff. I think the costume design is pretty good. Like their suits are great, and the effects on all of their sort of powers are great as well. It's visually like a really nice film.
I would agree. Yeah, I think it looks wonderful a lot of the time. I think that's one thing you can, like when they're at like Babylon and stuff, and and it looks rich, it looks full of color, it looks really great. The design, like you said, the design of everything looks really nice. Their costumes look great, and
I think
I suppose
from like when they're in the ship and they've got the 3D, when Fastos is making all those 3D models, they're really good. And obviously Athena, when she designs all of her items, and Sprite when she sort of disappears, like I think they're all great. Even like Macauly, that fight scene on the beach where she spins around to sort of trap Icarus, like I think it all visually looks great compared to say something like Black Panther, where it looks like it's made on a PlayStation 3 console.
Yeah. No, I can't disagree. I think one thing I would ask going forward is perhaps maybe a bit of visual differentiation between the powers. I get they're all aligned because they're built the same way. I just think sometimes it's difficult to tell who's doing what when they're all just doing
the thing
in one. I think it would be cool, but I don't know, maybe if they would have different colors ascending to what their suits were or something.
Definitely. Like Icarus got a nice blue one, and then you've got like Cersei with her green power, Athena one, etc.
Exactly. But there is one scene which I think is really makes sense to me, and that is Fastos, right? Obviously, we learned that Fastos has had a family and stuff, and he doesn't want to leave his kid. I think it's brilliant. I think that's an interesting twist to have. But then they come to Fastos and they go, Fastos, the world's going to end. We need your help, mate. And he goes, no, I don't want to go with you because I'd be with my kids. He's like, if I'm a dad and I have the power to maybe save the earth so my kids don't die, I would do that. Like, it's kind of a weird bit of like, so he wants to stay with his kids but his kids are going to die in like 12 hours. Like, you need to, it's a bit of I get they're trying to create conflict, kind of trying to show that they moved on. I just think it's a bit of a weird I think it's a bit.
Yeah, but he changes his mind after Icarus breaks his table, so we know where his priorities are.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just I don't know. It just that I thought that was a really interesting kind of take on what the Eternals could do and how they've settled in. Obviously, you got some of them going for fame, some of them have gone incognito. I just thought that was a really interesting twist. But then when they go, yeah, wait, we need you because the world's going to literally implode from the inside. And he goes, do you know what? No, I want to be with my kids. I'm kind of done being a superhero. Sorry. It's like, well, your kids aren't going to be around anymore, mate.
He did only start, essentially, didn't he? So.
Yeah. But obviously all the Eternals get together. I think that's the big issue as well. Is that we don't get enough time with them all together to really care about their back and forth. And I think that should have been the Guardians of the Galaxy. I get there's 5 of them, but they're all together by 40 minutes into that, maybe, and that's how you get their cool connection. Whereas this, they opted to not put them together until maybe the hour and 40 mark, really, until they're all together properly in the present day. Obviously, we see flashbacks and stuff, but I thought that was a weird choice myself. I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I feel this film was more of a setup film rather than a fully contained film. There's a lot of things setting up for what's to come. There's a lot in this era where a lot of people are not enjoying sort of this phase of Marvel. But I think this phase is just setting everything up ready for the next big thing that's happening.
Yes, Secret Wars on the way, which is going to be fun, and Kang and all that. Which obviously at this point we didn't know. I'd say I don't mind this phase of Marvel. Like, I don't mind everything not linking. I think the issue is that I think some people just want everything to be so big and multiverse. Well, I thought the Multiverse of Madness was a great film, but everyone was like, it was
Yeah,
disappointing because
I saw that at IMAX cinema, and that was really something. Like when you're there with the surround sound as well, those horror aspects really jump out at you.
yeah, absolutely. I think I'm a fan of changing up the formula and trying some new stuff. I think Black Widow is the only one that I was kind of a bit about, really.
But I think that's the first one to sort of change its format. When you go back and watch it again, I think it definitely works better as a film if you watch it sort of like under that different view after you've seen all these other ones since that have all changed sort of genres. That's what I'm also really enjoying about the Disney Plus series at the moment, is that they're all very different from each other. Like She-Hulk at the moment,
100%.
I'm Hulk.
I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time.
And I don't get what people are hating about it. Like that Megan Thee Stallion scene, people raged so much about that.
I don't get it. I don't get the hate. The issue is, right, is that there's so many people that are like, oh, everything's shit. It's like, why? I don't have the mindset. I don't have the mindset just think everything.
I think everyone's just taking it too seriously. It's like it's supposed to be fun. Like green people don't exist. Of course we're gonna fuck about with it. Like
yeah.
It doesn't look realistic. That's because green people are not real.
I thought it was a really funny subplot with a bloke being so up his own arse that he thought he was with the real Megan Thee Stallion. I thought that was great. But obviously, why are people complaining about She-Hulk? Wong's in it. Everyone loves Wong. They even say it in the show. We all love Wong.
Literally.
I love Wong and Madison. They're like the best of friends, and it's great.
Yeah, watching Desperate Housewives. It's great. Is it Desperate Housewives?
and Sopranos.
No, Sopranos. Yeah, Sopranos.
I think the direction of Marvel recently has been really good. I'm actually a fan. I could be honest. The only Disney Plus show actually I didn't get on with was Loki, which I know was not a lot of people's kind of. I know people loved that.
It took a while, I think, for me to get into it. There was a lot happening, but also not a lot happening at the same time. But then I can't really remember what happens, to be honest. That I liked was Hawkeye. I really got into that one.
Yeah, yes, Macauly. Me and you are on the same wavelength here. I'm like
Ms. Marvel. I really enjoyed Ms. Marvel as well. I thought that was great, and that I believe that was one of their best sort of Disney Plus shows, right, in terms of viewership.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the thing is, right, if people are talking about this, we'll go quickly delve into this as well. Subscription views are normally down on like regular television, and people go, "See, Doctor Who is bigger than Marvel." It's like, no, shush. It's not. But yeah, I think Miss Marvel did really well. I think Hawkeye did well. I think WandaVision might still be at the top, though. I think
that was the first one, though, wasn't it? So
yeah. So I mean, maybe that's a bit of an outlier, but I think WandaVision might have been top. I think as well as when everyone got their 3 months free trial, wasn't it? When you first started, if you signed up at the right time, you had 3 months free. Especially here in the UK, because it was like not, it was at that time just coming out of lockdown or back into lockdown, so they gave a deal or something. But yeah, I think the Disney Plus shows have been great, to be honest. I said they know I'm really Falcon and Winter Soldier. I thought was okay. The worst they've been is okay, or I've just not gelled with it. Like Loki, I don't care about the variants of Loki roaming around different types. It's not for me. I want to see some silly stuff. So when Miss Marvel comes along and it's high school hijinks and stuff, it's really cool. And I think, but even though I've criticized Eternals first, which is I'm going to be a bit of a hypocrite, is that like I love the cast of Miss Marvel. Like you could tell that all fans of the MCU, especially a man who was and you could just tell on the screen that she's loving doing it, and that obviously just makes you as a viewer love it more because you're just like, why not? This is great fun. Hawkeye, yeah, that's my favorite because I just love Hawkeye, and I thought Haley Steinfeld was a great choice for Kate Bishop, so I thought that was really cool.
I'm excited to see her again in the next project that she's going to be involved in,
which we haven't got announced yet, and that obviously we got Thunderbolts announced, which is fine.
Yes, that lineup Thunderbolts is interesting as well.
I don't think it's the full lineup. I reckon that we might get Emil Blonsky in it, but I feel like they can't announce it yet because of what's going on in She-Hulk. But I feel like Emil Blonsky might be in it potentially. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's fine. I think, but the issue is it depends if you like Black Widow and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If you don't like either of those shows, you're a bit. I thought it would be a bit more separated, so a bit of everything. So if you didn't like that. Oh, look, the good thing is it's got characters that everyone will like in terms of Bucky, and at least I think everyone loves Yelena anyway. I think Bucky's a good choice to have in there. Just kind of give some stability to the
Yeah,
crew
I feel
in
like he
terms.
got a bit shafted in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I feel like he didn't really have enough to do. He just sort of got pushed aside a little bit. He
Yeah,
was
I
too
think. I,
but
I yeah. I think the issue with him is that you can't make him the right hand man to Sam Wilson now, just as well. That would feel wrong because at that point he's not moved on, and the Captain America's moved on. He just stayed in the same position. I feel like you need to take him to a different corner of the universe now. I didn't think we needed to ever see Taskmaster again. I think that's the only one that I'm a bit like, all right, then.
yeah,
All right, then.
but we'll
But
see.
Ghost, I'm happy with. That's a cool one. But I thought she didn't have any powers anymore, which is so I don't know what her purpose is in the story.
I think she still has her powers. I think she's just a bit more stable with them.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
But we might get more into that possibly in the next Ant-Man film. That might be a bridge to it.
Right.
Not got any promo for that yet, but yeah, one thing I did like about She-Hulk as well is we finally got a mention of the big celestial sticking out of the ocean that happens at the Eternals that no one has seemed to reference at all.
Yeah, let's root back to Eternals now. What do you make of the final battle? Because I think it's big in scope, but sort of doesn't like. I think Chloe Zhao is a wonderful director. I think she's a beautiful director. Like I
Yeah,
said, the film's colourful. I think where she falters is the action. I think it just looks a bit.
there was a lot of build-up, and the action was great. I just think the resolution was probably too quick and too easy.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed
Doctor
too
Who
much.
syndrome.
Yeah, it's like you do this, bam, done. That's it. But oh no, there's an obstacle in the way in the shape of a small girl. And
Oh
then they
no! How can we not defeat the small girl? And it's like I get that she's also an Eternal, but she's also built like a small girl. So that's kind of where you write yourself into a corner going, well, yeah, we know she's super powerful, but surely three other super powerful beings can defeat her.
literally, it's
Um,
one.
yeah, and obviously we get the whole thing of Icarus kind of fulfilling the prophecy, if you like. He flies too. I don't think he's dead. I just
No,
don't.
no way.
They're not going to kill off Richard, man.
Went the other
Yeah,
way.
he scooted off. I guarantee we'll see him in like a, I don't know,
He'll be in
Guardians or
the
something.
project. He'll be in the next project that involves the Eternals, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Patton Oswalt did reveal that they are planning to do Eternals too in an interview, which he probably shouldn't have done. And Kevin Feige probably wants to, get the red dot on him right now. But yeah, I think when it comes to Eternals, obviously it's been a bit more of a loose review because it did come out ages ago, and there's no point going into a deep discussion. I just think in if I was going to be honest, in the grand scheme of the films, it just feels like the biggest misstep because it just feels like normally we can play about Marvel films for doing not enough in the runtime. They feel stretched. This one I feel like even though the long time is too long for a film like this, they're trying to do too much too quickly and nothing kind of feels fulfilled.
Yeah, I think it suffers from both. I think it's probably too long for what is put in there, but also suffers from not being long enough to get enough detail in there. But I think that's due to the amount of characters that we've got that we have to develop and a story on top of it. So it's a brand new story, brand new characters, brand new setup for whatever's coming. It's definitely, I feel like they needed all of this stuff to set up, but they've just not delivered it as well as they could have. But it's still an enjoyable film. Learning about all these new characters is quite fun. But I feel like we're going to benefit more for this film when we've seen what the build up is to. It's going to be one of those.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we might appreciate it more than I think the issue is, like I said, they got Disney Plus. I think they should have used it this time. I think because even if you did like an anthology series where it was introducing each Eternal one by one sort of thing, and you talked about their legacy in between the bits, just so we understood them a bit more, would have 10 episode series. Is it 10 Eternals, 8 Eternals? How many there is? An episode each.
Yeah.
An episode each to each Eternal. Just introduce them all. That would have been because then when we see them all come together in this, also I think the film's like disjointed because you go from one day past and it's all quite random. It never kind of feels smooth, the transitions between the past and modern day. And sometimes you don't even know they've done it. Sometimes the scene's been going on for 2 minutes and then the time code comes up and you're like, oh, okay then. But yeah, I think the interesting thing is
Seems
to
a
be
bit
what happens
rushed.
with this. Yeah, the interesting thing is to be what happens with the Celestials, where we see the characters next. Um, this film will always have one of my favorite cinema moments of all time because I went to see this film maybe the first weekend it came out, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, and then there was a young girl behind me, and she screamed, "Oh my god, it's Harry Styles!" when Harry Styles came out, and it was the funniest thing. Everyone chuckled at that. Yeah, Harry Styles in the MCU, cool. I'm a bit worried about his acting because I've seen the scene from that new film. He didn't look great, but he was all right in
No,
Dunkirk.
I think in that end credit scene when we see him, the small amount of lines that he has, I think he delivers it quite well.
Yeah,
But obviously, it's not enough to judge on his character. So we know that is it Thanos' brother, Star Fox?
yes, yes. It's
So
like,
I think he might pop up potentially in the next Guardians film.
I, I think all four of them could. I don't think you're going to just see him. I think you're going to see him and the rest of those Eternals.
Yeah, that would be a good step. I think that would definitely do them favors because I think reacting with the Guardians would be quite good because they're not really, they know about the Earth, that's where they started, but they don't really know anything beyond that. So I feel like that would give them a sense of ground and understanding of what's further ahead.
No, I don't disagree. I think as well that might help those characters to have them interact with more established characters. I think it's kind of a good way of drip feeding the new characters in. Because I think the issue is as well, we've taken a break from the characters we know for a little bit, which I think hasn't helped these new lot
No,
because we had Black Widow, which was just a vehicle to introduce Yelena and Red Guardian. We had the Shang-Chi, which was brilliant. I think that's quite unanimous. Everyone quite enjoyed that one.
really
Um,
good.
and that had Wong in it, which did kind of help and kind of did make it feel kind of more succinct within the MC
And
and Trevor Slattery.
yeah,
Whereas this one just kind of feels out the way. And the issue is with characters like this. I mean, they do the right thing, I suppose. But like Dane Whitman's line of "Why didn't you help fight Thanos?" And they're like, "We're instructed to not do anything." But it's like based on this film, Druig didn't listen to that because Druig's been doing a bunch of stuff
yeah,
he had been doing anyway. It fit like I think it's the Captain Marvel syndrome, but they did the Captain Marvel excuse correctly with her going, "No, I defend the universe, so I'm away, so I can't just be care about what." That was like a fair enough excuse. You go, okay,
yeah,
that's reasonable. Was this one they kind of go, "We're not allowed to," I guess.
yeah.
Like it's like, yeah,
But
well,
then
okay.
these characters are made afterwards, so it's like there's only so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, it's you have to get around it, but it's just one of those things where I'd rather they just didn't address it. I'd rather they just didn't address it because the issue is as well with Arisham's thing of I need the planet populated. Surely Arisham would be like, no, we have to stop this man who wants to depopulate planets because it ruins my goal.
Literally, like it was taking half the life of the planet, and it's taken however many years, millions of years to obviously birth that many humans. It's it's fact to span up.
Yeah, I just think this film. I wonder if I can give it its visuals. I think it's well acted. I just think it's a bit. I'd say it's a bit boring. Like I don't. I think there are fun elements to it, but I don't. I always this is how I always review films. I don't really give a number score. I always go, especially if it's in a saga. I go, would I pick this if I'm on Disney Plus? Not particularly. With all the Marvel library there, this would not be one of the first ones I go to. It wouldn't be the last. I think there are worse films out there, but it certainly wouldn't be the one I'd pick, if that makes sense. That's kind of how I view the Marvel universe, especially now. Whereas
Yeah.
like Thor: Love and Thunder, I think is fun enough that on a Sunday afternoon, or if I got mates around, I might say, "Do you want to watch this one because it's fun and it's bright and it's
I feel
it's
like it's probably more for if you're doing some more serious watching. So if you're doing like a little run through, or when the next sort of film that they're in, you need it for sort of like information.
yeah."
It's similar to say like I don't know what the films are put in that category. Maybe Thor Ragnarok. I don't know that's
Yeah,
it's a great film, but I feel like it's not really great as a standalone film. It's very much build up to Infinity War.
Yeah, an in-game. Yeah.
And there's a lot that happens in it, a lot of information.
Yeah.
But
No, I agree with you on that. I agree with you. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think overall it's an interesting
it's just not
sort of
self-contained.
place. It's going to be one that when Eternals 2 comes out in a few years, if we still do the podcast and we do that podcast, we could say, hey, look, Macauly, you were right. Eternals 2 came out, entirely recontextualizes what we know. It was a great step to this one. Or we watch Eternals 2 and we go, well, that wasn't that a waste of time.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's going to be the first instance where, we know these characters now, we know what they're like, we know their backstory. We go into this, we're like, we don't need to be introduced to these characters anymore. We just might need to develop their characters a little bit more, and don't need to waste too much time on that. And then and because there's less of them, I'm assuming we're probably going to have three of them that are on the ship. Is it 3? Or is it 4?
3, because there's
Athena, Kari, Druig, and
because there's only 6
Kingo?
left. But because King goes on Earth with
Oh, yeah.
Cersei. Is that 9? Because I can't think of who the 10th one is, because that 2 of them get killed off. So Icarus goes to 7.
Gilgamesh and Ajak, and then you're left with Athena, Macauly, Druig, Sprite, Cersei.
But Sprite and Icarus leave, so that puts it down to 6. That makes sense. Yeah, you're right, because then it's Icarus and Sprite leave, so that puts it down to 6. I think they're split in 3. I think Cersei, Fastos, and Kingo on Earth, and the other 3 are in the ship.
Harry.
So, and then Harry Styles pops up. He's like, "Hello, I'm Harry Styles." Which, by the way, I don't mind the scene, but it's so blatant that they just put that in there to go, "Oh, look, Harry Styles will be the next one, guys. You love Harry," but they got Harry Styles is brilliant in terms of an ambassador. I think he's going to be really cool with having the MCU and stuff. I just hope that his acting isn't too bad in this next film. But I've seen the clip. This was he's with Florence Pugh, who's a tremendous actor. So when you're against someone like that, and you're someone who's just getting into it a little bit and put in such high regard, in a sense, like in Dunkirk, I don't know if you've seen that film. He has a small role. He's in it a lot, but he's not the main figurehead. He's kind of a part of a bigger puzzle. Whereas in this, it seems that he's doing leading man stuff, which I don't know if he's quite ready for yet. He could prove me wrong. That film could come out and.
I wouldn't say leading man. I'd say he'd probably be more on the. If it was like a Guardian setup, he'd be more Drax, that sort of role. He's going to be like a main character, but not a forefront. It's going to be someone they sort of speak to, sort of just there, maybe like Hawkeye, and then potentially put him as a forefront later, depending how the reception is.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think that would be cool. I think we'll see. These guys pop up again before Secret Wars. Here's the thing with the Eternals. I just don't see how they're going to mix with the Avengers lot. Like when you get a new,
so separate. That's the thing. It's like Shang-Chi. I can't really imagine him with the other guys because it's such a self-contained film.
I think I can see him mixing quite well because he's on his own. I think because there's 6. Maybe that's because I suppose I was saying with the Guardians, though. I suppose you can make that argument, really.
Yeah, to be fair, when you see the Guardians in Infinity War, it seems wrong seeing Star-Lord and Iron Man having a conversation. It feels wrong. And no matter
it doesn't. I mean, I think Rocket's really good in Endgame. I think that's the one thing I would say.
Right, but it feels weird because they're so distant in terms of where they are. Like it seems like they're in a different franchise. I always view Guardians outside the MCU in the terms of the run-up because all of the other ones are set all on Earth. So when you go to Guardians, it's so different that it feels like a different franchise altogether, which is why I think it's odd to him in Infinity War. Which is, I mean, I love Guardians. It's probably one of my favourites of MCU films. So, I think Eternals would be the same in the sense that they're so distant from the other people in like the Avenger films that it's going to be weird seeing them gel. But I think because they're in space, I think it makes sense to sort of gel them with the Guardians. I think they'd definitely get on more.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think That would be interesting. My question to you is, we'll start to wrap up in a second, but which members of the Guardians are going to make it through Guardians 3? I don't think all of them are dying. I think you might get a couple, but which ones are making it?
I think Groot will make it because he
His money
regenerates
and
his
his
time
money.
and money. Yeah. Baby Groot again for people to buy more stuffs. Drax won't, because I'm pretty sure Dave Bautista has said that he's done.
Yeah.
I think we'll see Nebula again.
Yes, I think the ones for me that will make it.
And I think
we're going to lose Rocket. I think we're going to lose Drax.
Yeah.
And I think the rest will make it. I think Chris Pratt will keep doing it because I don't see why he wouldn't. I think the door is open for him now to become one of the leading men of the MCU. I just think the door has opened for him to do that now, and one of the leaders. I think realistically, the leaders now is probably when you got to give it to somebody. I mean, I think Sam Wilson's taken up the mantle, but even then, you got Captain Marvel's there now. Tom Holland, he's still Spider-Man, by the way, even if he says he might not be. He definitely is. So there's a bunch of people now taking the reins. I think Peter will be one of them. I think there's a lot of leaders who need to fill that gap. So
he's a leader, but I think it's reset for him. I think. Again, because everyone doesn't know who he is, so it's sort of restarted. He's gone back to that low-level neighborhood Spider-Man thing. So I think we need another trilogy with him to bring him back up to where we saw him in Endgame.
Do you not think this can get reset sooner rather than later? Do you think they're going to do films without Zendaya in it? Because I just don't see that happening. That's the thing. I just see that get.
Not as I see reset, but like he's back to square one. He's had a soft reboot essentially. Like they've reformatted his phone. It's gone back to how it is. He hasn't got he hasn't got anyone around him. They've all forgotten him. So,
how long do you give it for them to reset the spell? Because I just don't see them doing a film without Zendaya and Jacob. I just don't see it.
I mean, they probably will, but they'd have to do it. They'd have to build it up again in another film. So they'd have to reintroduce the characters, and they have to redevelop those characters in their roles. I still have the feeling that Ned's going to go into that Hobgoblin thing. I don't think they're finished.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't want them to do is take Peter Parker out of the MCU entirely, and put them into the Venomverse, because let's be honest, I don't know how long the Venomverse will be around anymore, because everyone really didn't like Morbius. I think they're going to try and do these solo films, and I don't have any faith in Sony. And I think there's got to be a point where they just go.
Yeah, I think the only redeeming factor they're going to have is they've hinted for Venom 3 that there's going to be a Spider-Man in it from that end credit scene. The fact that he wants to go to New York and find this Peter Parker. I'm assuming it's going to be Andrew Garfield. And if they do go down that route, we're going to see Andrew Garfield in Venom 3.
Wasn't that in the Venom 2 post-credits? Didn't they travel to the MCU? Wasn't that Tom Holland that they were looking at?
It was, but then if you watch the end credit scenes of No Way Home, you go back to the bar where Venom is drunk, or Venom and Eddie are both drunk at the bar talking to the barman, and he's like, "Oh, so there's this guy in New York." That's Spider-Man essentially.
Is he still not in the MCU at that point, though? I thought. Then does he get taken out? But a bit of Venom's left behind, which I thought meant that Venom's going to come to the end, like a version of Venom.
Well, there's two potentials there. So one, Venom / Eddie says, "Oh, let's go and find this guy in New York," and then they disappear back because the spell's done. And then the other sense is that a bit of Venom symbiote is left. So there's two opportunities there. There's back in Venom's universe to go and see Spider-Man in New York, which could very much well be Andrew, because obviously he's already met.
There was no Venom, so they can get away with it.
Yeah, and then Venom in this universe can happen because they've left that bit of symbiote behind. So
yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, I think we already know realistically there's going to be more Andrew Garfield and more Tobey Maguire at this point.
We hope so. The demand is there. They just need to play it right, I think.
I think Secret Wars and Kang, you could get there because that's multiversal. I just think we're going to see those guys again. I just have a feeling, and I think they've both said we had such a good time. They made a lot of money. if they get asked to do it again, I don't think they're going to say no. Personally, and for example, I think with that Kang Dynasty film, or sorry, Secret Wars film, you're going to see a lot of cameos. It wouldn't surprise me to see Hugh Jackman pop. Like again, I could be chatting absolute rubbish, but that comic storyline is just multiversal variants of everybody. So who knows what you might get? You might get Chris Evans as Human Torch. To be fair, I thought that'd be funnier than seeing him come back as Captain America. I think Human Torch.
They could make a little joke about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Steve, like who?
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. But Macauly, thank you so much for this Marvel chat. It's been more of a Marvel chat than has been a Tales review. We did a little bit in there. Is there any like socials you want to shout out, or any kind of anything you want to give a voice to?
No, I think that's all done and said.
All sorted.
Yeah.
Well, you can follow the podcast at The Timeless Pod on Twitter. Normally, we do ask for your guys' reviews of stuff, but because this one was more of a looser one, it wouldn't have really made sense. And your reviews probably would have been more structured than ours on this one. You follow me on Twitter at AlexKing_Don. Please do like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube, and follow if you're on audio platforms. And we'll see you guys all soon. Macauly will be back for a Spider-Man review at some point because we've got to do the third one of those. But obviously, this comes chronologically first, so I thought I'd get this out of the way.
What have you got now?
Well, we got some James Bond, we got Doctor Who, but we got everything popping up, mate.
It's gonna be a while.
Everything's going on. It'll be before Christmas for definite.
Okay. In terms of the Spider-Man review, you need to watch the fun edition, so we'll review that.
More fun stuffs, okay.
Yeah.
I'll watch the more fun stuffs. But yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Macauly, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, thanks for having me again.